get into it. So, welcome once again to Ghosts, Myths and Legends. Are you sitting comfortably? Shall we begin? Are you sitting comfortably? Shall we begin? In the village of Wooky Hole, near the Mendip Hills in Somerset, there is an underground cavern system of limestone that goes deep under the hills. Now, in one of these deepest caverns, there is a rock formation that looks just like a witch. She has become very famous around those parts, and you can see her. And they even hire a woman to play her when they're open. But there's much more to it than just a rock and some lady floating around in a costume, which we will discuss. And I also did my hair quite witchy to match my story. It's quite, yeah, like to get into character. The myth goes that there was once a young lady who was spurned by a lover. This broke her heart and drove her insane with rage and grief. She fled deep into the caves, where she asked the devil if he would make a deal with her. If he gave her power so she could punish those that hurt her, she would give him her soul and turn to the dark side, where they have cookies. Anyhow, the devil, being the generous man that he is, agreed, and she became very powerful. With this power, she would terrorize the village of Wooky Hole. She would worry their goats, sour their butter, and her favorite was ruin relationships. That thing that had been done to her, she caused to happen to everyone. And she delighted in it, and she carried on doing this for a long while until the villagers said, "No, no, no. No. Nope. We can't put up with this anymore. We need help." So they wrote to the highest power they could think of. They wrote to the abbot of Glastonbury. Now, at this monastery, there was a man called Bernard. Now, Bernard, he was a result of one of her curses, and his love that he had pined for and held deep in his heart was crushed and ruined by her magic. This caused him to vow never to love anyone ever again, and he took to the cloth, and he became very good at breaking curses and expelling demons and doing exorcisms and all these things because of what had happened to him. So, being one of the top people, Bernard was sent, obviously, by the abbot to go to Wooky Hole. Obviously, this was something he really wanted to do as well, because this woman had, messed up his life, in essence. So, there he went. They told him where she roughly liked to hang out. And as he was there, he saw her collecting herbs. Seeing him, she scarfed as fast as she could, because obviously she knew these caves like the inside. Like the inside of her hand, the back of her hand, inside of her. It's like an eternal map. So in she went. Poof, vanished. He was like, "Hold up, where'd you go?" But Bernard was a astute, clever man. And he looked around and he saw something in the distance that looked like a little opening. Going closer, he saw that indeed it was a disguised opening into something that looked like it would be a big space. So, with a torch in hand, he bravely walked forward and entered the big, dark, scary cave. Some places were wider than others, some were narrow, some he had to grip in the darkness. Even with the light of his torch, there was barely any light to see. Groping his way around, hearing her footsteps echoing. And we all know what cave systems are like. Those sounds can be distracting. Was she this way? Was it that way? Was he right going that way? But he carried on a true path. Down, down. He could hear her taunting him, laughing, cackling at him. This did not put him off. He carried on, following her deeper and deeper into this maze. She was still taunting him and asking him why would he want to do this. This mission was fruitless. He would never be able to stop her. Down he carried on, the heart of a true religious, pious man. After what she had done, he would get this finished. And personally, I think It wasn't just because he was really good at empires, it was partly because this woman had wrecked his life. And so it was, I'm gonna get you. So he did. Well, he hasn't yet, but he's gonna try. Soon he got to a really wide, expansive cabin that was really hard to see in the deepest, darkest reaches of the sides, but it was massive. I'm holding my torch still. There was a vast advance of water, an underground lake. Bending down, he said a prayer and blessed the water. And then he heard her, again, right in the deepest, darkest corner of the cavern, mocking him, taunting him. He said a prayer to himself, scooped up a handful of the blessed water and threw it in that direction. And no, witches don't melt, and certainly not this witch. What he heard was a scraping sound the sound when boulders are being moved, or you hear a slide of rock sliding down.
Dana's, I'm crying.
Okay, I'll be there in a minute. Sorry. The children have yet to understand when the door's shut, Mummy's doing something, or if I say shh, don't talk. But never mind. Anyway, where was I? Yeah, the sound of rocks and boulders shuffling. He walked bravely now towards where the sounds were coming from. With his torch he could see finally in the deepest, darkest caverns as he could move closer. And he saw that once where this witch had stood taunting him, there was now a perfect rock formation, just like her, complete with the staff in her hand. Some people say there's even a little dog, instead of a cat, a dog, at her feet. Obviously he was relieved that this spell, not his spell unfortunately, but he was still a man of the cloth, but everyone else's spells would be broken. There'd be no more broken lovers' hearts, there'd be no more stock that will worry, no more crops dying. He went out the cave relieved, and everyone treated him heroically. He was the hero. He had got rid of this wicked witch. And so he carried on his life doing what he was doing in the monastery, and everyone else was happy. But was this just a myth, or was there more of a legend quality to it? Was there some truth that had got mingled up and made into this story? Because when it was explored in 1912, they found a 1,000-year-old skeleton of a woman that can be seen in the museum at Wooky Hole, which you can go and visit. It's a beautiful cavern system with lakes, and they put beautiful coloured lights, and it's really pretty. So when all this crap's over, I would suggest going to see it. But this woman was meant to have had a shaft through the heart, where she had been attacked and was killed. And this ties in with the legend that this woman was tied up with the Arthurian legend, which, if you want to know, we could tell you next time you comment below. But anyway, the witch is still there, maybe like a dinosaur. The bones are free, but the rest of her is internally cased in the stone. And there she will be for many, many more moons, I should think, waiting for you to come and see her and think whatever you want to think. Was she real? Is it just nature? What do you think? Obviously, I believe in witches, the dark and the light. I hope you enjoy this tale, and you go and see them when it's all finished. Don't be afraid of any ghosts or witches, and have a lovely evening. Goodbye!